This is John Black, Super Chemist. This is part 2 of ANACYCLOSIS. But see, the reason why the king wants this ANACYCLOSIS model from Polybius the liar, the elitist, rich Polybius, why they want his, and they have a hard on to keep it going. They want to keep it going for 1,200 years. They want to keep it going, or whatever. Why? See, they want, if you believe their model, then you believe that no matter who's in charge, even we the people, it's just going to turn into a demagoguery. It's no one to blame. It's just the cycle of an ANACYCLOSIS, the cycle of a society. They don't want accountability. See, if you know the truth, like I'm telling you, right, that the bloodline keeps staying alive. Because if it wasn't staying alive, how are our presidents having the same bloodline to the same kings over 1,300 years ago? That ain't a bloodline surviving and staying in power. I don't know what is. I don't know what it, And I'm going to give you many, many examples before we're done. And like I said, unless you're on Rumble, if you're on Rumble, you got to go to my Pastafarian Preacher channel. But otherwise, all my channels is the deep state of monarchy. Go watch it. There's proof all galore. Some videos, the first 30 videos is just me talking about, because I'm trying to figure this stuff out. It started out being that they're all related, all the presidents. Then it went to they're all related and royal. Then it went to, oh, they're all related, royal, and they have the same royal bloodline going back to King Edward. Then it was, oh, no, they're all, and some of them are cousins, and then I found out the ones that were cousins were also direct lines to King Edward I. They were all direct. Then I find out again, they all go to the 7 kings. They just kept more and more and more, But, so it took 30 videos to figure that out. Then the next 30 videos, I'm basically just going on there showing, there's 1,000 people now that I'm up to. 1,000 people in government that's had this bloodline. Like, come on, man. And it just, more and more, it just never ends. It never ends. But they want you to think that so that you don't take out, because if you know the truth, you'll be like, oh, well, the problem is that we keep letting the bloodline be in charge. And what we need to do is stop that bloodline from being in charge. You know what I mean? And then nothing will be destroyed. Society will never collapse. The only reason it's collapsing is because they're collapsing it on purpose so that they can have money transfers. You know what I mean? Sometimes our money transfers is big, too big, so big it collapses everything. But don't worry, someone in that bloodline, and I'm not saying that it's planned. Like it was planned in the United States, yes, not at first. The lower rows just came over thinking they're going to, and then after a while they were like, man, the Americans they want a war, a revolutionary war. Let's jump on that, and then we can set up our own democracy that's really just going to be a monarchy. We'll all be in charge, and we'll get everyone that is in the royal family elected, you know what I mean? Yeah. Then it was a plan. Yes, then it was a plan. But I'm saying before that, it's just that's how, if everyone in the kingship, in the monarchy can have money and land, and when you kill off them top royals, I'm not saying the lower royals had a plan, we're going to kill off the top royals. I'm saying they can see that all the people, the tyranny from the new king, after king, it gets more and more worse. They can see when the people, we the people, are ready to kill the king. And they stir up the people. So the people, it's not even actually that the lower rulers or the aristocrats go and kill the king. No, they rile up the poor people when they know they've taken so much. And they kill them. And then the lower rulers go inside, take over. It's aristocrats. Aristocrats. Yeah, right. You mean lower royals is what you really mean. But I'm not saying it's a planned thing. I'm just saying that happens because who's going to be in charge? If you take the king out, you got to have an army, so you're going to have the rich people being in charge, and the only people that are rich are related to the monarchy. But you don't realize it because they don't tell you that. And then they erase this stuff over time. They erase the fact that nobles and aristocrats were actually the lower royals. It used to be common knowledge 2,000 years ago. And as time progresses, they keep changing history so that we don't realize that, It wasn't that the rich people and the kings could have land. It was just one family. One royal family was allowed to have land. And that's why when you take out some of the royal family, the ones that are left at the bottom, they always gravitate, rich people, they cream to the top. You know what I mean? They get to the top. They got the money, they got the, everything. Yeah, I want you to notice who wants you to believe this ANACYCLOSIS idea, Polybius's version of ANACYCLOSIS. Who wants us to believe it? Who keeps it alive for us? Let's just see who keeps it alive for us, okay?
It's worth noting that innumerable later thinkers would be greatly influenced by Polybius's ANACYCLOSIS model, and would either comment on it or offer their own versions. Among the more notable of these during the Middle Ages was Thomas Aquinas, the great philosopher, theologian, who wrote the Summa Theologica. During the Renaissance, Niccolo Machiavelli, the brilliant and infamous political commentator, best known for his treatise The Prince, was heavily influenced by Polybius, and in another of his writings, The Discourses, offered his own version of the ANACYCLOSIS cycle. During the 18th century, the intellectuals of the Enlightenment were fascinated with ideas about the progression of history, and many Enlightenment thinkers subscribed to Polybius's theory. In an essay called Men's Lust for Power,
notice this paper that Adams wrote. All men would be tyrants if they could. He wants you to think, he's pounding it right in your face. Hey, it's not our bloodline that keeps screwing things up in the monarchy and the aristocrats and the democracy. It's not us. No. All men, okay? All men are just evil, and they will be tyrants if you let them be in charge. So when a democracy falls, don't blame the royal bloodline. Just blame humanity, because humanity sucks. The bloodline does not suck, apparently. That's what he wants you to know.
The American founding father, John Adams, directly echoed Polybius, writing, "Simple monarchy will soon mold itself into despotism. Aristocracy will soon commence an oligarchy, and democracy will soon degenerate into an anarchy." This concept affected Adams so powerfully that he described it as the creed of my entire life.
Now, Polybius lived right before the Roman Republic collapsed, okay? So he died not knowing. He did this ANACYCLOSIS thing, and most societies follow it, what he said, apparently, what he's saying. But the Roman Republic actually lasted for longer than any other society. So he thought, and the reason why is because they had a three system of government, 3 branches, just like we have today, right? So that you have checks and balances, right? And Polybius said that those checks and balances is what made the Roman Empire or the Roman Republic, last so long. It's because they changed it up and did that. But after he died, the Roman Republic fell. He didn't see that part. You know what I mean?
The Roman Constitution was, however, in a world in which the current states were mostly monarchies, there was indeed something unusual about the mixed structure of the Roman Republic. If the idea of a government that divides power among 3 main branches and employs a system of checks and balances sounds very familiar, especially to Americans, it should. The education of America's founding fathers was deeply steeped in classical authors, including Polybius, whose comments on the Roman Republic were among the key influences on the founders of the American Republic. As we've already seen, John Adams was particularly fond of Polybius, frequently quoting him in his speeches and essays, and directly stating that they were an inspiration when drafting the Constitution of the United States. Adams was not alone in his appreciation for Polybius's account of the structure of the Roman Republic. Thomas Jefferson considered an understanding of Polybius so essential that during the Constitutional Convention, he sent a copy of Polybius's history to James Madison for him to study.
Okay, here's John Adams' wife, right? King Edward I, Henry III, bunch of Magna Carta signers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these 7 kings. Here's John Adams' son, John Quincy Adams. Edward I, Henry III, bunch of Magna Carta signers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the kings. Here's James and Addison. King Edward I, Henry III, bunch of Magna Carta signers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the kings. Here's Thomas Jefferson. Let's see, King Edward I, Henry III, bunch of Magna Carta signers. Keep in mind, all these Magna Carta signers are the same people, and they're all grandfathers. They share 20 grandfathers. Charlemagne are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 7 kings. And keep in mind, this guy knows he's a royal, okay? John Adams. He knows that these people, Thomas Jefferson, Aaron Burr, John Adams, George Washington, all these people, okay, they're all cousins. You don't think they don't know their cousins? They know their cousins. They know that the entire government at this point, right, at the beginning, they know they're all cousins. Everyone in the government is their cousin. They're all royals. He knows it. Jefferson knows it. Adams knows it. Whoever, the other guy that they mentioned knows it. They all know it, okay? So they know that Polybius's, version of ANACYCLOSIS is a lie. They know it, but they push it because they push that version on you because they don't want you to know that the monarchy, the aristocrats, and the people in a democracy, right, the elected officials in a democracy, they're all the same bloodline for the last 1,300 years. At least that's how far when I went back, okay? But basically 2,000 years we've had the same bloodline in charge of everything. And then we complain, why is everything always going to crap? Well, because you keep putting the same bloodline in charge, you morons. Like, you just use your brain to stop putting these people in charge, okay? King is a dictator, okay? An inbred piece of garbage, all right? Stop putting inbred pieces of garbage in charge.
So, was Polybius correct in his belief that the Romans had solved the puzzle of how to stop the cycle by finding the ideal form of government? Keep in mind that Polybius himself lived at the height of the Roman Republic's success in the 2nd century BC. Unfortunately, beginning about a century later, during the period known as the Late Roman Republic, the system that Polybius so admired would begin to malfunction and eventually implode. It turned out that the Roman solution was not permanent. The Roman Republic did eventually collapse. Even worse, when it did fail during the 1st century BC, it more or less followed the ANACYCLOSIS model. Resentments built up among many different groups within Roman society, including veterans, allies, half-citizens, poor citizens, and even some aristocrats, each of whom felt that they were not fairly sharing in the benefits and wealth that Rome's conquests had produced. The last century of the Republic witnessed the rise of a series of demagogic leaders. Men like Marius, Sulla, Pompey, and Julius Caesar progressively undermined the institutions and traditions of the Republic and placed their own personal interests above the good of the state. They manipulated the common people, raised private armies, and, when they disagreed with political rivals, replaced debate or compromise with violence and bloodshed. A round of civil wars ultimately led to the emergence of a new strongman who vanquished all his foes and became a king-like figure, the emperor, a system that would persist for the rest of Roman history. The first of these emperors was a grandnephew of Julius Caesar, grandnephew of Julius Caesar, grandnephew of Julius Caesar, grandnephew of Julius Caesar.